Oh, Neil, we've had a good number of players out on loan this season. Looking at the loan system overall, how much of a benefit is it to a club like Norwich, considering the emphasis we place on player development?
Huge, obviously huge, hugely important for everybody, for the players themselves, for the club, and as you say, for the way the club's model is that we need to produce players ourselves through the academy or via loan moves, because that's the way it is at this football club, and it's proven that it's worked, and it's really important to us to develop players that can play in the first team. We make no, we don't hide anything away from the fact that when players go on loan, ideally they're going on loan to come back and play in our first team, but if that's not to be, then they increase the value or they go and get themselves good careers. So the loan process takes 3 or 4 different pathways, but ultimately it's about producing players, giving them the experience at senior level, at whatever level that needs to be, to ideally be good enough to come back and play for Norwich City.
A lot of work goes into picking the right club and monitoring those players when they are out on loan. I was wondering if you could just give us an overview of that process in terms of what it looks like in selecting the right club and monitoring the players when they're there.
We have regular meetings as senior staff, not only to decide which players are going to go out on loan, be made available for loan, but at which levels, and that's the key to it, if you like, the placing the players at the right level for them. So just because a player, for example, say a player goes out to League Two doesn't mean he's not as good as someone who goes out to League One or the Championship or equivalent. It just means maybe they're not at that stage yet or not ready for that yet. And it's been proven that players that have gone out to lower levels have actually ended up playing in the first team. League One, for example, with Ben Godfrey's and people like that, James Maddison, they've played in League One on loan, but they've played first team football for Norwich City. So it's really important that we try and get that right, and obviously that's the skill set that we feel that we're doing quite well in most regards, that the player is placed at a club where he's got a chance of playing, and ideally the team will play a similar or close to style of play as us, so that the player comes back with the experience, but most of all they play in senior football. If it's the first loan, then you're getting a player who is experiencing senior football for the very first time, and that is huge for us. The academy process and the academy games are really good, but it's all about real football, and it's about Saturday or whenever the match day is that there's 11 players going out there and points are on it, jobs are on the line, and it means something. That you lose a game, it's not okay, let's move on to the next one, then there's the repercussions. So that's what a lot of the players find out when they go on the first loan. But obviously there's other loans as well for senior players who, for whatever reason, need games elsewhere.
Moving on to some of the players now. Archie Mayer spent a season on loan at National League side at Kings Lynn. How beneficial is it for keepers to play at that level of football? Because it's very physical, isn't it? And how much of a benefit is it having close links to Kings Lynn, considering how close they are to Norwich in terms of geography as well?
Yeah, I mean, to answer your first part, your question there, players going on loan, as I say, is particularly the younger players when it's a first loan, it's an eye-opening experience for them. When you're a keeper, a young keeper, it's even bigger, because they normally go from academy football, category 1, elite academy football, where the ball's on the ground a lot, it's very technical, there's a lot of passing, and yet if they then go out on a first loan to a National League or a League 2, for example, the ball's in the air quite a lot. Now, for a player, that's one thing, but for a goalkeeper, a young goalkeeper, that's very different, and they certainly get exposed to what football is like, certainly at the lower levels, at senior level. We've had a number of young keepers that have gone out on loan, and probably one of the first things they say after 2 or 3 games is, wow, didn't expect the balls coming under the crossbar like every 2 seconds, and centre forwards are jumping up and getting elbowed, and it's like, this is real football now. But the benefit we get from that is huge, because, as I say, they then know what senior football's about, and if they need toughening up, then they will toughen up. If it gives them the experience of dealing with a lot of crosses, they'll get that. But they're also getting senior football as well. But certainly with Archie going to Kings Lynn, Archie's now had 25, 30 games now, wherever he's played at Kings Lynn, at a proper level. you know, where as I say, where it matters, and he's been exposed to pressure from teams that will try and put him under pressure, and centre forwards that want to try and put him on his backside. So it's been invaluable for us, and Archie's done really, really well there. In terms of Kings Lynn, obviously it's beneficial for both clubs. You know, they're on our doorstep, and if we can put 1 or 2 players on loan to Kings Lynn each year, then of course it will benefit Kings Lynn, but it also benefits us as well. So that's certainly a link that we'll try and keep going with them, because it makes sense for both clubs, I think.
Moving on to League One, Akin Fenwu and Louis Tomlinson have played quite a few games for Charlton and MK Dons respectively. How pleased are you with the progress of those 2 players?
The goal for Akin was to go and get games under his belt, go and prove himself at League One level that we feel he's more than capable of, and go and impress at a good club, a really big club in Charlton Athletic, at a good level at the top end of League One. And he's had a fantastic loan there. He was excellent. He kept 6 clean sheets in the first 7 games, which 6 clean sheets on the spin, which is pretty much unheard of at any level. And he was part of a back four and a goalkeeper that did that, and obviously the team as well, to give Charlton the credit. But we've seen all his games again, as we say, and has done really well. You know, he's shown his attributes, what we know he's got. He's strong, he's quick, he can defend, and he can play on the ball. So he was hampered by 1 or 2 injuries, which was a bit of a shame, because it disrupted his flow of playing game, which we want, and obviously, you know, frustrated him, because obviously League One, like the Championship, you play Saturday, Tuesday a lot, and you want to keep that going. And once you get into a rhythm, then getting an injury can put you back a little bit, and then you've got to play your way back into the team. So we had a couple of disruptions with it, but I think overall, you know, he went and showed what a good defender he is, and so obviously then he's ticked that box, and now it's on to next season, what the decision and what pathway he has for next season now. In terms of Louis, different again. I mean, Louis far more experienced, but has had horrendous injuries, and went to MK Dons because obviously we know Russ plays a similar style to us, likes to play football, and unfortunately Louis picked up another couple of injuries this season, which has disrupted the flow for him. It's driving him as mad as it's driving anyone, because, you know, he's a top player, Louis. You know, he's a fantastic kid, great player, and obviously him and us, we want him to just go and get 30 games, you know, on the spin for a club, and that's the reason he went to MK Dons. So, you know, he played well when he played for them, don't get me wrong, but we've all been a little bit frustrated that he couldn't, you know, come back having played 35, 40 games, which is what we were hoping. But obviously in the games he did play, showed his quality.
Yeah, because when you look at a previous League One loan spell, you just mentioned it before as well, in terms of Ben Godfrey. I mean, he went and played 30, 40 games in League One for Shrewsbury, got to the playoff final with them, and you can see how much he benefited from that experience. So it's that kind of experience you want for the players, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I think he played 50 odd, Ben. It was like he played virtually every game, played in midfield for a lot of them, as well as a holding midfielder. But yeah, this sort of underpins the whole process here, if you like, because I'm pretty sure at the time a lot of supporters might have thought, you know, okay, we've got this top talent here in Ben Godfrey that people are thinking could go all the way. You know, why Shrewsbury Town? You know, with the greatest respect, why the hell go to Shrewsbury Town? Why not go to a Premier League club or a top Championship club at the time? And this is our jobs, you know, because yeah, people were saying why Shrewsbury Town, but if you look why, then there was a lot of reason behind it, and considered reason. That we knew Shrewsbury Town. I knew Paul Hurst, the way he plays. I'd been to the training ground and the stadium to see the facilities, see how the team played before he went there. So that's why he went to Shrewsbury Town, because I felt that he would get game time. 2, they would have a good season the year he was there, which, as you say, should have been promoted and played twice at Wembley. And he would improve himself ultimately to the levels that we needed him at. So what I wanted from Ben Godfrey after 50 games at Shrewsbury was to make it easy for me to go to Stuart and Daniel and go, okay, he's ready. I'm
looking now at Sam McCallum's season at Coventry, and they were in a real pressure situation. Obviously got a good result out of it in the end in survival out of the Championship. How much of a benefit is it when they're in that promotion battle or in that relegation battle when you know there's lots riding on games towards the end of the season?
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. Sam played 40 odd games, you know, in the Championship this season, which is fantastic for him and for us, and was for Coventry. Let's not forget that. You know, they had a good player playing really well for them every year. It was good for Sam in that, with the greatest of respects, Coventry were at the wrong end of the table, fighting, having just achieved promotion into the Championship. Their target was obviously establish themselves. So for a defender particularly, we were going to find out quite a lot about Sam, because Coventry were going to be under the cosh quite a bit in a lot of the games. I've got to say they played really well all season, by the way, which was fantastic. But of course Sam was tested, and that's what we wanted to, because we you know, we got him in. We know what a good player he is. He played at League One with Coventry. Well, now it was a step up, and he's passed that test. So yeah, you're exposing him, as we said, to not just the realities of playing under pressure to be promoted, or playing under pressure to stay in the league. You know, you're finding out about the player as well. Sam's been excellent, and you know, we hope that, you know, he goes and continues now on his pathway again.
Moving to a few of the players that have spent time abroad now, how pleased are you with the links you've got in those countries? And you mentioned before it's quite technical football, so I suppose that's something to do with the links that you've got in those countries, that they play similar style to us.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the links, the more contacts, the more links you get, the better. And that's evolved over the 6 years that we've had this loan programme now, that we've got very, very strong links with so many clubs and contacts for virtually all the clubs in England. But as you said there, the number of clubs that we're sending players to, Belgium, Germany, Holland, Spain, you know, France, we've got links with those as well now. So if a scenario comes up where, like going back to a Todd, you know, Todd's situation, and every player is different. It's all, you've got to almost put a bespoke plan together for each player. And Todd's one was, how can we expose him to senior football without getting him beat up, but in a team that doesn't just play long ball, it plays the way we like to play. So, you know, you narrow all them filters down. There's not much at the end of it, so the more contacts or the more go-to clubs you've got, the better. Sebastian and Dan at Telstar, obviously we've got links with Telstar. We've had players there. Charlie Gilmore has been there previously. I know Andries Jonker really well. Andries was once academy manager at Arsenal, so you can see how the links come, and you put it together there that, you know, we feel that we've got a player for them, or they want a player off us, then we can make it work. And the beauty of it is, once it's been tried and you know it works well, you trust them, they trust you, you're happy with the level and the style of football, then as long as the manager stays in place and not too many changes, then you're always going to be looking to use them, and they're always going to be looking to use you, particularly if it works well. Onto the guys at Belgium, Danel and Melvin. Danel did really well, as particularly towards the end of the season, even though it didn't work out well for them as a club as over the season. But Danel also found out one or two things that he needed to improve on, and he'd be the first to tell you that himself, and did so. You know, we were speaking to him regularly, having Zoom calls. As you said, we couldn't go out and see him, unfortunately, but Stuart Webber and myself had Zoom meetings with him, you know, so we're speaking to him all the time about his performances, what he's done really well, what we think he needed to do better. And credit to Danel, you know, the one or two things we asked him to improve on, he really rolled his sleeves up and got on with it. And I think it played a big part in him doing so well towards the end of the season. Melvin was different. Melvin didn't really get an opportunity there, and that was one, almost like I said to you before, didn't work out for us, or for Melvin, or for Beveren, in terms of he didn't get the game time that we wanted, but we've all learnt a lot from it. So hopefully that benefits everyone going forward with that, with Melvin, with his next opportunity, whether it's here, whether it's on loan again, or whatever. You can always take something from it as to, okay, it didn't work out, why didn't it? What could we have done better? What could you have done better? What could they have done better? So different. And on to Rocky in Belgium. Rocky his stock is very high in Belgium. He's played for the under-21 team and had some fantastic performances for them against big teams. They beat Germany, for example, that were regarded as the the best under 21 team at the time last year, and Rocky was man of the match in the game. So his stock's really high there, so makes sense to sort of keep him there. You know, he knows Belgium, they know him. He's been unfortunate with injuries, which again we talked about with Louis. You can't help it. You know, an injury can derail you, can put you back, and that's been frustrating for us and for Rocky, because you know he's got himself going and then he gets an injury, got himself going again, then he needed surgery, and all of a sudden the season's over and you're thinking frustration. So you know, Rocky's a really good player, and what we all want and what Rocky wants is for him to go and have an injury-free season where he can go and showcase what he can do, and then everyone would benefit from that.